7 drips of coffee and a scoop of sugar. We have it all here on Drop Your Buffs, a podcast discussing Survivor. Thanks very much for joining us. It's the 30th of March 2017. We're talking about Survivor Game Changers, the 4th episode called Dirty Deed. And with me tonight, I have my usual co-host, Craig. How's it going, Craig?
Hello, I'm very well, Stu. How are you?
Yes, pretty good. Pretty good. Just trying to keep dry at the moment.
Oh, it's a bit like that, isn't it? It's been a very wet day where we are today.
We've had schools closed, businesses closed, but the podcast is open.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't drop our buffs.
No, that's right. And we also have tonight Eliana. How's it going, Eliana?
Good, thanks.
Good. Well, thanks very much for joining us. I thought just before we start talking about the episode, do you remember last episode I was talking about the New Zealand Survivor?
Yes. Where have we got to with that?
Well, no, nowhere really with the New Zealand Survivor, but have you heard about the Scottish Survivor?
There's Scottish Survivor, is there?
Well, it's not the official Scottish Survivor, but there was a survival show that was filmed in Scotland, and it was called Eden, and it just recently finished. Yes, and it was.
Well, there's been some controversy about Eden, hasn't there? Because they continued filming for a year, but didn't tell the participants in the show that they really only showed the first few months.
Oh.
And they've all just I think it's all just finished, hasn't it? And it's just been revealed. Oh, actually, you haven't been on TV for about 9 months because the ratings weren't too good.
And it was such a hardcore Survivor as well. They're in some awful sort of remote Scottish location somewhere where I'm sure the conditions would have been terrible, and more than half of the contestants dropped out during the year because of health and safety issues, boredom, and midgies, apparently. So,
oh gosh, sounds horrendous. I mean, being on Scottish Survivor would be just surviving the winter, wouldn't it? Just not having to do anything else, let alone the people you're marooned with. It'd be just surviving the winter.
Well, that Survivor wasn't so much about voting people off because you didn't vote people off. It was just about surviving, how to build a shelter and get food, but also, how to actually govern the tribe, how they're going to work out their system of rules and laws and things like that. So it was a bit different to the usual Survivor that we're used to, but yeah.
Good grief. Well,
pretty tough for those contestants.
Let's hope they make it onto TV later in the year, as the producers have promised they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
meanwhile, in Fiji, though.
Yes. Off you go, Craig. What did this episode start with?
Well, we're back at camp after the drama that was Tribal Council in the previous episode. JT is lying through his teeth that he didn't give the game away to Culpepper, and if he hadn't done that, they never would have known to give the immunity idol to Sierra, and who knows what might have happened.
No.
And he's saying things like, "I'm going to take this secret to my grave," but he's saying this to a camera. And there's millions of people watching it, so I don't know how that works. And of course, Sandra was not fooled. She knew straight away what had happened.
Yeah.
And from the beginning of the episode, Sandra had it in for JT.
What do you think, Eliana?
I think it was a bit too risky because he already sort of had a target on his back from earlier when he marooned his tribe out on like a raft while they were fishing so he could go and dig for the idol, which was already a pretty stupid idea. So I completely saw it coming that Sandra would just totally go for him that time.
I mean, at least he did confirm that he was duped, though. It wasn't his intention for Malcolm to go home. And as he said, that was the worst thing that could have happened for him because he was really forming a good relationship with Malcolm.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but what did he think was going to happen? I mean, he tells Culpepper that they're voting for Sierra, and then he's upset that they go after Malcolm. I don't understand.
No, because
how that...
Well, he thought that they were going to go for Sandra because he said that was the perfect time to get rid of Sandra, and he thought Culpepper was on board with that.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know Culpepper as well as he thought he did.
No, so I don't know when it's, if it gets down the track. Well, of course, he as we'll later find out, he won't get the chance to play any further with Culpepper. But
exactly, yeah.
But it wouldn't have worked out well, I don't think.
Yeah, look. Anyway, but so next morning he knows he could be in a spot of bother, and he's up looking for an idol, and he does actually find a clue to one, and finds one.
Yeah, he seemed to find it very quickly. It was probably just the editing, I guess, but it seemed pretty
Yeah.
easy, didn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
it's never that easy. There's like a giant jungle. It would not take like, I don't know, a minute just to find the clue and the idol.
Yeah, that's right.
It did. When he actually went looking for the clue, though, it did look like the whole tribe was out on the beach or doing something. They were all away from camp. So
Yeah, he was
we
lucky.
we wondered last episode last episode the one before how Ty managed to get to find the idol that he did, given it was so close to camp. JT looks like he found the perfect time when all of his tribe mates. Of course, there are less of them now, so perhaps it's a little bit easier for him to go looking. But anyway, he found an idol and said he's not going to tell anyone he's got it.
No.
Which I love. I much prefer. I think idols should be kept secret. I think you can do more with it if you keep it secret, and you can have a real surprise factor and pull it out at exactly the right moment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, then that brings us to the reward challenge. Now, this was
Reward challenge.
Yeah.
I love this too. They're on this small island, this small sand island. So did you notice that? And so when Jeff says, "Come on in,
It looked
guys,"
awesome. Yeah.
it did look awesome. But when he says, "Come on in, guys," where exactly were they coming from?
I know.
They must have been. They must have been just there.
Yeah, yeah, and and there was obviously probably a very strict time limit on that challenge because the tide was coming in, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably right there. But I did love the setting. I thought it was just awesome the way they put them out there in the middle of the water there. And this was pretty typically American, wasn't it? Reward challenge where the winners get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches plus milk and cookies. You can't get more Americana than that.
No,
and if you came second, you still got the peanut butter and jelly.
That's right.
You ever had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Stu?
Isn't it just really jam though? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah,
it is.
it's just jam.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I don't think I have actually.
It's really nice. I had one. I was very surprised, but I was determined to give it a go, and it tasted great. I really enjoyed it.
Have you had one?
Yeah, but it wasn't really as satisfying as I thought it would be because they talk it up so much, like in America, but it isn't actually that great.
Oh, okay.
They play a bit. They play a big game. Well, I really liked it. I really enjoyed my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Anyway, we digress. We're on a sand island,
and when all the tribes first turned up, they were extremely surprised that Malcolm was out. They were just jaw dropped, weren't they?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that this early in the game. I mean, Aussie said, it just changes everything. Malcolm's such a big player, just not at all what they expected. Of course, the Tavua tribe didn't know how it had all gone down. Did they actually know that there was only one tribe member going? Did they?
Yeah,
that?
They did.
They did. Yeah.
Jeff
okay.
did
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether that tribe had already left the challenge area before Jeff told the other two losers.
No, he told all the tribes before the challenge, so everyone would have heard it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yep. So yes, we're into strategizing for our challenge here, and Deb tells us everyone quite adamantly that she has a really good sense of balance.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if she had a good sense of balance in her original season. Do you remember that at all?
Well,
I couldn't really remember, but
I don't remember it either. And as events will play out, we know she now doesn't. Now, no, she doesn't. She was awful.
Yeah,
in
but
that
she's
challenge.
done gymnastics for 10 years, Craig.
But when would she find time to do 10 years? Like, was that like 50 years ago or something? Like,
you think she might have done it when she was a kid? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think she's that experienced because that was a really dreadful performance.
Well, someone who was good on the balance beam was Aussie. He's
really good. He's like good at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had Michaela doing great stuff. She was very fast on the digging.
Yeah.
So she certainly contributed in a great way. You're right. Aussie got through it really well. Zeke did fantastic work for Tavua on the puzzle, and that ultimately won them the challenge. Sandra did great work on the puzzle as well for Nuku and got them a smaller amount of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But it was really Deb who seemed to lose that challenge for them and set them back. So Mana ran third, got no immunity. And didn't that set off a chain of events?
Yeah, because how Deb was going on about, oh, I didn't do anything. I was so good. I got over it in 30 seconds, which is complete rubbish. And just going on about Hayley, like, really took her time, like 10 minutes. But Deb, she was just twisting it to save her butt because she was in trouble.
Do we think that she might have a point, though? I mean, do we know for sure that the editing didn't go down that way, and that the editing sort of made it look a
Well,
particular way?
all that they filmed was Haley, and like she only fell off like once or twice. She had pretty good balance compared to what Deb had.
Interesting. I just do wonder whether we might not have seen the whole challenge there, and it might have been edited a particular way. I guess we'll never know. But she was quite adamant about that, and I find it hard to believe that she would be that. What's the right word here? But that she would just think she did so amazingly well compared to what we saw. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it was. It's and whether or not she was correct or not, her reaction was just super. It was just a super big reaction, and she just came across as really irrational. And I think, and that is a problem for her, because it doesn't matter whether she was correct or not, because she's really establishing herself as being a real wild card.
She
a
did
wild card
handle
player.
it well. Like even if they did happen, you'd probably talk about it a bit more calmly and not scream at the camera and just lose it, start doing push-ups and strutting off whatever, because that is just the most stupid idea to do on Survivor. Like that's putting a massive target on your back.
Exactly.
It really was very entertaining TV, though, wasn't it? I mean, she blew a top about 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
We had Ty calling her a crazy lady. She's doing push-ups on the beach and showing everyone that she's got an 8-pack, an 8-pack, claiming it's a dictatorship and calling him a name I'm not going to use. And it was really, really very entertaining. Really very entertaining.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's really coming across as extremely unpredictable, and that is the one thing you don't want to be when you're on Survivor, because no one wants to work with someone who's unpredictable.
Yeah, but it's good for the producers because all the viewers are loving this, because this lady and she's going psycho and everyone's just enjoying it, watching it all. So it actually is good for the people backstage.
I don't think I've seen anyone on Survivor quite that angry before, actually.
No, there was this one guy from like about 5 seasons ago, 5 or 7, and he was so angry at the whole tribe, and he just lost it, and then he peed on the rice and everything, and he destroyed the whole camp.
Oh, okay.
So, was that Brandon?
Yeah,
Harris?
it was Brandon, and then like it was complete chaos.
Anyway, that was Debbie. Not happy. Not happy, and it continued. I mean, before we get on to what happened later, we did have a little brief interlude over at Tavua where they were enjoying their reward. They seemed like a happy tribe over there. They were the losers out of the drop your buff moment we had back in episode 2 when they were sent off to a beach with nothing, basically no shelter and none of the rewards or things that have been picked up off the boat on the very first episode. But they seem to have come together really well as a tribe, and they seem to be they're doing really well in challenges. They seem quite happy and content with how things are going. Things are quite good over at Tavua.
Is that the tribe that Sarah and Troyzan are on?
That's right. And we saw Sarah and Troyzan talking. Troyzan, as we know, has the idol, and Sarah was who's playing as a criminal. She reckons.
I don't think she was playing as a criminal. I think she was just playing how she played before, but she's just saying, "I am now acting like a criminal." But that's just how everyone plays on Survivor. It's just how you play.
Yeah. We're yet to see the evidence that she's playing like a criminal. But anyway, there might be the beginnings of some sort of alliance going on there between Sarah and Troyzan.
Yeah, well, then over at the Blue Tribe, we first start hearing about Michaela's 7 drips of coffee and a scoop of sugar.
That was pathetic.
So what is a drip of coffee? Is that 7 shots?
No.
No, it's barely anything.
No, it's
like
like a
seven
quarter of a shot or something, or less than that. So it's not very much, is it? So,
but it sounds like she had a tablespoon of sugar to go with it.
Exactly, and that's what particularly miffed JT, because he obviously is a coffee connoisseur.
Yeah, he seems to know his coffee, doesn't he?
No, and you don't drink coffee like that, and he wasn't impressed with that.
Well, he's on a beach in Fiji,
You would know.
living out in the open. I'm not sure he can be too fussy about how he has his coffee out there.
No, so then Sandra sees all this going on, and so
before you say that, I was just going to say I actually think it's smart play from Michaela to have that much sugar, because sugar, as we know, is energy, and it's probably incredibly sickly sweet and probably doesn't taste very nice, but To have
I'd
that
be
much
having
sugar in
sugar.
your coffee is actually not a bad idea.
I know,
in
but
terms of,
like from my experience, once you fill up on sugar, when you come crashing down, you are so tired. So maybe not the best idea from Survivor if you're sleeping on bamboo.
it's like those mints you get when you go to some sort
Yeah.
of corporate event. You get stuck into the mints, and after lunch, you are in a world of hurt because you start feeling very tired as
Yeah.
the sugar drops out. So,
Is
but
that what
anyway,
it
look,
is? I just thought the speakers
that's
are always so boring. I thought that's
no,
what the reason was.
Yeah.
it's all the mints you filled up on before
Ah.
lunch. It's always the mints. Stay away from the mints, everybody. They will make you sleepy in the afternoon. I guarantee it. But yes, I loved how Sandra here took advantage of the situation and got stuck into the sugar.
She's very clever.
Oh, she's cunning. She's devious, but it was a really good move as it turned out.
The queen stays queen.
Yeah, that's right.
And she didn't really have to do much after that. I mean, JT just
No.
formed the view based on what had happened earlier that it must have been Michaela, and Michaela didn't seem to fight back against it particularly strongly. She was angry about the accusation, but didn't really sort of, that we saw anyway.
Yeah, that's
Didn't
what I
try and
thought.
get too stuck into him and just sort of went, oh well, if you think whatever you like, and that's fine.
I don't think JT wasn't really that smart about it because he just put 2 and 2 together and just said, oh, it must be Michaela. But it wasn't like he didn't care that much. Like, he didn't care if who he pointed fingers at or whatever. He just thought, oh, my name is definitely not going to get written down. But
I think it just showed that that was just one of many things that was causing some tension between those two in the camp. And I
yeah.
think that
Yeah.
they were the two that were really going at each other all the time, and this was just one of many things. And we'll see how that sort of plays out later on.
I think that's right, and that was probably the one incident that made reasonably amusing and interesting television that they chose to show us. But I think you're right. Yeah, I think there's probably a series of events have happened over a period of time, and it built up into Sugargate. Anyway.
Well, over at the Red Mana tribe,
they're not a happy bunch, are they?
No, Ty's looking for an idol because, of course, he used his idol last episode.
To great effect.
Yeah, so
to great effect, but he needs it again to protect himself.
Exactly. So off he goes, and he finds a clue. Now this
is a weird one.
It was. Yeah, there was something about soaking a board and looking for
I don't understand it.
The tribal logo or something is supposed to appear.
Yeah, so it says you find a board, soak it in water, and if the tribal logo appears, the immunity idol is going to be located under the board. So, and then they very sort of subtly showed him walking past the water well. And so I wonder whether the bit of board is somewhere around or on or below or beside the water well.
Okay.
So all he has to...
I think that doesn't make sense because he could like go down to the beach, like wet the board and whatever, and then lift it up, and then it wouldn't make sense if you had to like the idol be underneath you. I thought it was a bit unclear.
It's very unclear. But I really like how cryptic it is. But I think if it is at the water well, all he's got to do is dip it in the water, doesn't he? In the well.
Yeah, but would you have to dive in the well or something to get it out?
I don't know. I don't know what he has to do.
Exactly.
Can't wait to see how they go with that.
No, that's right.
Anyway, well, that's one for another day because we're straight on to the immunity challenge then.
Yes, we are. This was like a kind of an obstacle course finishing with a slingshot.
Yes.
And
good challenge.
Yeah, and before it even starts, Debbie's going crazy again. She's
I
think she was refusing to do the balance beam. Is that right?
I don't think
she being assigned that by Culpepper, and she said, "No, I'm not doing it."
No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm my own boss now. Okay, like this is what I'm gonna do. Like she just was so angry at Culpepper for some reason, which is just stupid because he didn't really even do anything.
Well, she continued chirping during the challenge as well. She had little snide comments all the way through, saying things like, "Oh, I'm glad we didn't use the gymnast to go over the balance beam."
Yeah, and like as soon as she climbed over the wall, she's like, "Oh, Culpepper, look, I was the first one over the wall. Did you see that?" And she kept on saying that repeatedly, which just got so tiresome.
I was impressed with the rest of her tribe as as to how calm they were with dealing with her. They weren't really flying off the handle. They weren't really rising up to meet Debbie, were they? They were just letting it wash over them.
Yeah, just let it go. Let the crazy lady talk and say what she thinks, and we'll just get on with it.
No. And with the challenge, Green got off to a massive lead pretty early, and Aussie was the first to start launching the slingshot. So he was sort of doing that well before the other two tribes were up there.
Yes, he certainly was, and we had some great aiming from Sierra as well, from her tribe. But then from nowhere through comes Culpepper in another
Mikey
challenge.
Culpepper.
Yeah.
Another challenge that was made for him, given his sporting ability, and I think he played American football, didn't he? So he's probably pretty good at throwing things to very precise targets.
Yeah,
And
he nailed it.
He nailed it, absolutely nailed it. It's one after the other, and the end result, Mana won the challenge. So, okay, some people might think he's acting like a dictator, but he's certainly helping them win challenges.
Yeah, I noticed that Debbie, she was extra happy that he had won. Like, that was a very quick mood swing, but I think that was just because if they had lost, she was probably going to be an easy target.
I agree. I agree. She was in a world of hurt if they'd lost that challenge, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what she thought was going to happen by her flying off the handle so often and frequently.
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense from a strategic point of view, that is for sure.
No, that's right.
So Mana's come through. Culpepper's won it for them. We've now got Aussie versus JT, which is a real battle of the Titans going on. Aussie for Tavua and JT for Nuku. And in the end, it was Aussie who prevailed there. So Tavua runs second, and Nuku goes back to Tribal Council to lose their second tribe member in consecutive tribal councils.
That's right, because they've only got 5 people in their tribe at the moment.
That's right. So they ended that challenge with Sandra, Jeff, Michaela, JT, and Aubrey. And it became pretty clear during the strategizing back at camp that really it was between JT and Michaela.
That's right.
And JT thought he was safe.
Yeah, well, it did seem like there was a general consensus that Michaela did have some kind of an attitude problem, though, didn't they? Like, I think that everyone sort of realised that, yeah, like maybe they might like her, but she was definitely the source of a lot of tension.
Yeah, and that sort of came out in the discussion at Tribal Council. It did seem like there's a bit of arguing, a bit of fighting going on at camp, and that Michaela's at the centre of that, and she certainly does seem to have a fairly robust, say what she thinks, take no prisoners kind of personality.
That's right.
She really spices it up, like when Jeff was about to go get the votes, like she was just calmly getting out a little cup and then filling it up with water and just sipping it there. Like she didn't have a care in the world, which I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I wonder whether there was any sugar in that cup. But we didn't see a lot of the strategizing going on, other than just we know that JT thought he was safe. We knew that that Sandra was gunning for JT a little bit and spoke to Michaela about it, and also to Jeff Barner about it. Mm-hmm. And then we were straight into Tribal Council. We didn't see much of that strategizing at all. And straight off the get-go, and I just want to say that because I love talking about the get-go. JT's blamed straight away for spilling the beans to Culpepper, and he sort of took that on the chin a little bit, didn't he? Sort of said, yeah, that was, I feel bad. I probably gave him a bit too much information, which might have contributed to Malcolm going there. and no one really seemed to get stroppy with him or take him up on that.
No, there was some serious backpedaling there, wasn't there, on JT's part?
Yeah, Michaela did make some comments about how it did divide the tribe, and she wasn't happy with him. And but then it launched into the whole JT versus Michaela thing, with JT saying things like everyone's tired of babysitting her, and
he said that several times about babysitting. Yeah, came up several times.
I don't really understand that, because I think she pulls her own weight pretty much like everyone else. So I think he's just trying to prove his point, which isn't generally true.
That was the point to cue the little set piece that I think she had sorted out with Sandra, where she said, have I done this and I done that, and have I brought you food on a plate? And Sandra says, yeah, I've seen that. Now, whether it's true, I have no idea at all, but that looked pretty staged to me. But then Sandra then tried to really blur things up by talking about keeping the strongest player in the game and referring to him, which could really only be be a reference to JT. So, do you think she was deliberately trying to put him off the scent there?
I think she was deliberately. So he might, I don't know, like just get off his balance or something, just putting him off.
So anyway, it sort of all finished with Aubrey saying things like she likes Michaela, But there is a quality of life issue at camp. I mean, gosh, you're living in the sand. The
Yeah.
quality of life, really?
I know, and it's only pretty temporary, really. It's it's a fairly long time, but still, it's temporary. It's not something
yeah.
yeah.
That's right. Anyway, and then Jeff Varner comes on and says, yeah, there's fighting going on. It's a very complicated vote. So with that, Michaela poured herself a glass of water,
Which
or a cup of water.
I've never seen anyone do that at the tribal council. Just
Looks like she did not have a care in the world.
That's
Sat
right.
back and relaxed and enjoyed the show.
I thought this was my favorite part of the episode after Jeff had called out all the votes, and like JT, he's just like, oh my god, like he's just he cannot believe it, which is pretty funny. And then Michaela does this massive hair whip in his face, and she has this smirk on her face, and it's just priceless. She has just so much sass. She is just so interesting to watch.
Well, and
So-
I mean, I was in a really bad position for this in terms of our Survivor Fantasy League because both Michaela and JT are on my team, so it was always it was always a bad thing for me.
You were gone no matter what, weren't you?
That's right. That's right.
So when it happened, the vote was 3-2 against JT. JT is voted out with an idol in his pocket.
Yeah.
With votes coming from Michaela, Sandra, and Jeff. He voted for Michaela, of course, as did Aubrey. So it puts Aubrey now in an interesting place within the tribe, given that she was the only one of the surviving four who voted for Michaela. The other three went for JT. So, and with that, a former winner of Survivor left the game.
Yes, and it is sad to see JT because he's on my team. He's on the Dragon Slayers, the mighty Dragon Slayers, but. At least
not anymore. He's not.
No, he's not anymore. But at least we know the goats on the island are all safe now.
Ah, this is true.
Yes,
this is true.
That's right. But
no, not necessarily. Sandra will do anything. She's like, I will eat anything that's meat.
Exactly, but she won't be able to catch it though. That's her.
Yeah,
problem.
she can't catch it.
But she'll just yell at them.
I was surprised that JT didn't use his idol because he obviously felt pretty comfortable, but still you think that there would have been enough doubt in his mind that he would have just played it just in case, you'd think.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether he got completely double-crossed and people gave him some assurances that it wasn't him, and he took them at face value. He's a country guy from the south, and I just wonder whether he was lulled into he clearly was lulled into a false sense of security because he walked out of the game with an idol in his pocket.
Well, at least it's a good souvenir.
That's true.
That's very true.
Maybe he thought that because he's probably the strongest person on that tribe in terms of challenges, maybe he thought that's why he was safe.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true as well.
That's all I can think of. But
it doesn't matter now.
No, he's gone.
He's gone.
Well, next week on Survivor, did you see we've got another Drop Your Buffs?
We do. Yeah, this is incredibly exciting. And someone's going to Exile Island. We saw from the preview, and we have a returning another survivor coming back.
Survivor makes a return.
A former survivor makes a return. So, in what capacity are they making a return?
Well, surely they couldn't be entering the game at all. So it must be as a
I have to say, I hope they're not joining the game because I do have a bit of a problem with reality shows when they bring people into the game when we're already well into it.
Exactly,
I just don't think it's not fair to the people already there, and it's also very contrived. I think in terms of creating a storyline or some sort of narrative, a story arc, or whatever it is they want to do. It's a great twist and it's all very exciting and it shakes things up. But I hope that's not what they're doing. I hope there's some other reason for this former survivor coming back. I don't know. Who knows what they're doing? Who knows what that's going to be about? And who is it? The other question is, who is it?
I can't think what it could be. Whether the person's coming to give some advice or something like that. But I can't really imagine what kind of advice would be all that.
Particularly when you've got a multi. A twice winner in Sandra in the game. We've obviously lost JT tonight, so a former winner has gone. But you've still got some absolute greats of the game, like Ozzy's still there. You've got Sari, who isn't saying very much, which is interesting. And she
hasn't had much screen time recently.
Not hearing from her very much at all. But she's just playing very quietly in the background, I suspect. So yeah, who it is and what they're going to do, I think will be fascinating to see next week.
I think Sierra, I think she's got a good game plan because from the recent Australian Survivor Series, like, you know, how Christy, she basically just drifted through until maybe after the merge, like a week after the merge, she just shot in there and she was in the game. So maybe that's what Suri is trying to do.
Well, we shall see. Interesting.
And I can't really give a good update on the Survivor Fantasy League either because they haven't updated the scores yet for the most recent episode. So, but I will put the link in the show notes so that you can have a look for yourself and see where we're all up to. I'm pretty sure that I'll still be at the bottom.
Yeah, I think you and I are now in a bit of a world of hurt, Stu, because we've both lost half of our teams.
Oh, you weren't doing too badly, Craig. I think you're up around. I think you're second at the moment. So I think I'm a complete write off now because I've only got Michaela.
My star will fall because you got Michaela and Haley. I've got Suri I've got Suri and Sandra. But we're up against the Ferrari Ducks, a bit Nicklish, who both have still 4 of their players left, and Chester's Angels, who have 3. So I don't think we're in a good. I don't think we're in a good spot, Stu, with our teams in the fantasy league.
Unless one of our players goes all the way and becomes sole survivor, that might carry us through with the points. I think so.
That would be awesome. Yeah. But we'll see. So that was that.
Yep, that was that. And thanks everyone for listening. It was another good episode. I guess this episode was more of a more standard sort of episode, wasn't it? It wasn't any really big surprises, but just kept things moving along.
We had an immunity challenge. We had a reward challenge. It was a nice little bit of strategizing. Yep, nice little. Where are we? Are we about a quarter of the way through now? Must be about a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, just about. Well, thanks for coming on, Eliana, and thanks, Craig.
Yeah, it was great.
Pleasure. See you next week. See you then. Bye-bye.